Each year, ESPN NFL insider Jeremy Fowler polls NFL coaches, players, executives, and scouts to find the top 10 players at each position in the NFL. Recently, the NFL's consensus ranking for corners came out, and we all know that Pat Surtain is going to be ranked amongst the top corners in the NFL. And spoiler alert, I think it's no secret that he's in the top 2 along with Sauce Gardner. So let's find out if the NFL actually gives Pat Surtain his flowers or if they continue to kiss Sauce Gardner's ass. And what do you know, Broncos country? The NFL actually gives Pat Surtain his due respect, and they ranked him as the consensus top corner in the NFL. Now, don't get me wrong, Sauce Gardner is amazing, especially going into just his second year in the NFL. I mean, when you look at him and Pat Surtain, they're different players certainly, but you definitely view the future of the cornerback position in the NFL as very, very bright with these two guys. Sauce Gardner is very deserving of that number 2 ranking, and the argument can certainly be made for the number 1 ranking. But I feel like Pat Surtain ultimately has more experience than Sauce Gardner, and also is better and more consistent than Sauce Gardner is, just in my personal opinion, and that's stripping away my bias as a Broncos fan. I am very much looking at this with my analyst lenses on, and not my Broncos fan lenses. With Pat Surtain, he had one very rough game last year, and that was the Raiders game in Denver, the game that went to overtime. He ended up giving up the game-winning touchdown, and before that, he got burned for a deep completion, I believe was for a touchdown as well to Davante Adams. And let me tell you what, man, those things are going to happen. Davante Adams is one of, if not the best route runner in the entire NFL. He's going to give Pat Surtain issues. And I'll tell you that Pat Surtain learned from that game, and he is a much better player now than he was going into that game, because that's what going against opponents like Davante Adams will do. They say that iron sharpens iron, and that is a prime example of it right there. With Pat Surtain, he's somebody that you can basically trust to be isolated one-on-one with your opponent's number 1 wide receiver, and he will take them away. And he doesn't need safety help either. Because of this, you can afford to send more guys on a blitz with 5-man rushes and even 6-man rushes, because you've got somebody like Pat Surtain who's almost like 2 DBs on the field. With a lot of other corners in the NFL, you have to give them safety help over the top or else they're going to get cooked. With Pat Surtain, he is his own help. He doesn't need a safety over the top most of the time. He can keep up with the team's best number 1 receiver stride for stride. It is absolutely insane to watch. The Broncos will be playing a lot of cover 3 and cover 6 with Vance Joseph, and because of this, even though it's zone coverage, Pat Surtain is still going to be isolated one-on-one on the boundary, and he's going to be able to take away the team's number 1 threat on the boundary, which is an absolutely big advantage. And like I alluded to earlier, you don't have to keep as many players in coverage in this scenario. Normally, you'd have to drop 7 players in coverage and bring only a 4-man rush up front, because remember, you've got 11 guys on the field. Now, what you can do is you can bring 5-man rushes, and then you can drop 6 guys in coverage, and you know that Pat Surtain is going to hold his own, and you can divert your safety help and all your other help to other corners such as Damari Mathis. Now, as far as Sauce Gardner is concerned, I do feel like there are some things that he needs to do to take his game to the next level. He is a little bit grabby at times and relies a little bit too much on his raw talent. He needs to refine his technique just a little bit more and be a little bit less prone to getting grabby. At the end of the day, there were times last year where the referees were just blind to it. I remember in the game against the Broncos, on I believe it was the last throw of the game for Brett Rippon, he took a shot into the end zone, and it was to Courtland Sutton. Sauce Gardner, yes, had him blanketed, but also was pulling him down to the ground before the ball got there. It was blatant pass interference, and the referees just didn't see it or chose not to see it. So with Sauce Gardner, he definitely got away with a lot of stuff last year as a rookie. And I'm hoping that that won't be the case this season, because I'm hoping that Sauce Gardner will be able to clean up his technique, honestly, because I want to see him take that next step in his development, because I'm rooting for the New York Jets. I want to see Aaron Rodgers do well. I want to see Nathaniel Hackett do well, even though things didn't work out for him here in Denver. I want to see the people in New York do well, and Sauce Gardner is a big piece of that puzzle. But at the end of the day, I just feel like Pat Surtain is the more complete player right now, and he gets way too much crap for that rough game that he had against Davante Adams. But besides that, man, he was a lockdown corner who took away pretty much every other opponent's number one wide receiver all the time. Now, to round off the top 10 list, we got Jalen Ramsey at number 3, Jair Alexander at number 4, Big Play Slay at number 5, Marlon Humphrey at number 6, Marshawn Lattimore at number 7, Trayvon Diggs at number 8, Denzel Ward at number 9, and A.J. Durrell at number 10, with honorable mentions being Xavier Howard, J.C. Horn, Tariq Woolen, Tre'Davious White, and L'Jarius Sneed. So overall, Broncos country, what would you do to adjust this list, if anything? I personally feel like somebody like Tariq Woolen maybe deserves to be a little bit higher on this list, but otherwise, I don't really have too many qualms with it. Ramsey maybe could be a little bit lower, but I also feel like Ramsey's somebody who's caught a little bit more flack in the media than he should. I still feel like he's a really, really good player, and Vic Fangio is going to know how to use him really well down there in Miami. But I'm curious about your thoughts on this list and how you guys feel about Pat Surtain being ranked as the number 1 corner in the NFL, guys. Be sure to drop those comments down below and let me know your thoughts as always. Alright guys, be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are 2 free and easy ways to share your support. As I always say, guys, it helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out. It helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. And until next time, guys, this has been another episode of Denver Broncos Syndicate. I am your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.